What you been working on since we last
So
spoke?
I I got the design up to a point where I think
Mhm.
I'm good with it, but
Okay.
now the interactions are the ones that are like getting to me.
Oh, like prototyping and trying to get the
Yeah.
animations right?
Like just some things don't um work how I
Mhm.
want them to. Yeah, all right. So here's one thing. I have the desktop, right?
Mhm.
But then when I hit the mobile, it doesn't give me the frame that I had, like the 375 by um you
It
know
doesn't?
600. Nah, it gives me like this super long one. So I think it's still using the desktop um frame and then just fitting the mobile in there.
I don't let's see here. I don't know what you mean. Let's go back to your actual file so I can maybe see what you're talking about.
So
Okay.
what's it called? The prototype, right?
Mhm.
Um I wanted to just show it like this window size, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But it's showing like all this, and I think it's using the height of this frame.
Ooh,
Does
s
that make sense?
No, I don't think that's what it's doing. So you're saying scroll down? So you're saying you do wanna scroll, right? You do wanna
Yeah,
scroll, but you don't like how tall it is.
right.
Okay, and so there's a couple ways to do this, like so if I'm not mistaken, let's see
Because
here.
I tried to change the frame of the mobile one,
Uh-huh.
but when I changed the frame of the mobile, it looked the way I wanted it to, but then it
Mhm.
affected the desktop prototype.
That's weird. I mean, it shouldn't because 'cause they're on different artboards, so I don't know what's going on with that, but let's see here. So what Imma do is let's see something here. Okay, and then what you need to do I put the screen size that you were looking for on, that artboard, so that one
Yeah,
would be 375 by 667. I just shortened the frame, but obviously the content still goes, it's clipped. So
yeah,
if you click on the design panel again, take it off a prototype and go to design, then you click on that mobile, you see like the clip content box is checked over there.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, if you unclick it, you'll see all the rest of it come back.
Mhm,
But in this case, we want to clip it. And then what you have to do is you go back to the prototype panel and then you click on this artboard and then you go over to scroll behavior and change it to vertical.
mhm.
And now you click the preview button or present the prototype. Yeah, click on that. Now you should be able to scroll and it's in the size. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. There is the ability to show this what it would look like inside of a phone. Um,
Yeah, I've seen that before. I've never done it. On
so yeah, so what you do is you don't click on any artboard, you unclick off, and then go to the prototype panel, and then
Yeah,
where you see device, you see
yeah.
custom size drop down. You should be able to actually pick what you're trying to design on. So this here would be 375 iPhone 8. That's 375 by 667. So, but you get the gist here. You can change it
Yeah.
to however you want based on your artboard size.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, I've seen this online. I just haven't
Yeah. So yeah,
used it.
you can change the device, and things like that. Let's
So
see.
then I got the website here. Um, Worked on my spacing. Uh, so this is what I was talking about last time in terms of like the transition here.
Mm-hmm.
Like it does it here, but it fades in and it fades out. And I did the copy and paste for the animate.
Mm-hmm.
And for another one, but I like the way it shows up in this one, or yeah, in this one here.
You like the way what shows up?
Like the slider is a lot
How the
smoother.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But I did 4 separate pages and it does it this way. But
Yeah, that's how you do that. Mhm.
when I have it in the same page, that's when it looks like this.
Yeah, it has to be on you have to be on multi other pages. That's how
Okay.
that animation works.
Okay. So yeah, I got my the services page with the transitions,
Mhm.
the testimonial. I put I put it in the prototype like after delay. After like a
Mhm.
certain amount of time, it'll start. But with this one, it starts when I click on it.
So that
Um,
means you have it on click then.
where's it at? This one here?
Well, no, I'm saying something is on click because you clicked it and it activated. So
Okay.
what
'Cause
I'm
this is
saying is it
the
could
component I'm
well,
using.
yeah, that's the component, but I'm saying like now you put that component onto there, right?
Yes.
And then let's see what do you have there?
And then I don't have anything on here
Okay.
for
Um,
this section here.
this layer has an invalid name. Okay, so you did something with this carousel component already. I'm seeing this off.
Where'd you see the invalid?
Well, I mean, if you click on this carousel,
Uh-huh.
you go to the design panel. You
This
see
layer,
that error right there?
invalid name.
Yeah. Make sure that all variant names are in the form of. So it looks like you tried to rename it. Well, where's the original?
The original is
Okay, it's over here. I see it. Yeah, and we're having some issues already. It looks like you went in here, you created a component, and
yeah,
then it looks like did you make variants?
I did for each page. So because
Then
I was
oh,
looking,
okay, I see them. They're over here. What is going on? What is whoa? Okay, now zoomed out. All right.
yeah,
What is this big space in between here like
just so I
this? What
could
is
see the what are these called?
what are you talking about?
The
Oh, you're in the presentation. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what that is, but you stretched it out so you could see it.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
because they were too there was like too many lines.
Yeah,
Um
so it looks like here, okay, so you got a component called carousel 2. In here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 variants, but it looks like though, it looks like you went in here and manually renamed them. Like you clicked on the layer, renamed
yes,
it, and put
yeah,
development. Okay, so that's the problem. So for components, you can't do that.
okay,
You screw up the naming. So basically, what happens is when you create a component and then you make a variant. So let's say the component is called button, and then
mhm,
you have a variant that says outlined and one that says filled, right?
yeah,
Well, when you double click on the name, so you got button and then you double click on filled, what you'll see is the naming has to look like actually I'm gonna just create one on the font because it's easier for me to do this. So I'm just gonna create a rectangle. I'm gonna make that a component, and then I'm gonna add a variant, and another one. So this one, if I go over to the left panel and I see default,
yeah,
if I double click on that, you see how it says property 1 equals default?
yes,
What it's saying is, and this is the way it's based off of coding, you have a property attached to it.
yes,
And I'm going to say color, or I'm just going to rename that. And then if you now go back over to default and double click that, you should see now it says color equals default.
Yes.
So what you're saying is this variant has this property and it equals this. This variant has this same property, but it equals a different name. This variant has the same property, but it's a third name. And that
Yes.
property, that naming convention has to add the equal sign in it. Because what happens now is when I take and use this component as an instance into my design, when I go over to the right side where I can override the settings, that's how I get that color drop down, default, blue, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that if you don't have the equal sign and all that because it's based off of code. So you can't manually, you can manually rename it, but you just need to make sure that it fits that properties equals, right? And let's say if I have multiple properties on it, right? So I'm going to add another property. This is called color, and I'm going to add another type of property. It's a variant, and I'm going to call it size, right? So now, if you now double click on default, you see how it's color equals default, comma, size equal default. Now we're getting into those are the properties. So you separate properties by commas, and then you have to name the property and then equal what does the property mean. So for this one, the first one, I'm going to call it, I'm going to say the color is red and size is large, right? And then this one, I'm going to change it to blue and then same thing, large, right? And then I go another one, I'm going to say red, green, and I'm just going RGB, green, and same thing, large, right? Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another variant in it, but this time I'm going to make it smaller. So now I'm going to go 250. 250. And then now instead of large, I'm going to call that small. Still going to be green, right, for the color, but I just changed one property. So now I'm going to add another one. And instead of green, I'm going to name this one red and keep it small. And then instead of red, I'm going to go blue and keep it small. So now you notice you click on these. So if I hold down the Alt, click and drag, right? And now you see right over here in my properties panel, I can override this to red, blue, green, and then large. So that's why the equal sign, the naming like that is important. So let's say this is, let's go back to this one is red. So I'm just going to change it to a red, right? And then this one is a blue, green like that. And then this is also a green. This one red. And then this one is the blue one. And then here's what's going to happen. So now I take this right here and I'm going to override this to go small, red, blue, green, go back to large. So that's why it's important for that naming like that. And then what you see is if you click on this rectangle component and then you look at the layers panel, you're going to see all the different properties in blue, small, red, small, green, large, right? But it's not until you double click on the name of that is where you see the actual property name. So long story short, don't rename it without the equal, just, you know, depending on what the property is of the main component, each variant, the properties are going to be property name equals whatever value you give it. And then if you're adding more properties, it's just separated by commas.
So you could always change the property name. You just have to have, I guess, like the property name and then equals and then the title of whatever.
Whatever value you give that property.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, so all right, so that's one thing I see that's wrong with this component. So I think that's why it's saying this layer has an invalid name. So what you need to do is instead of saying movement, you need to give it a property name equals movement, property name equals nutrition, property name. That's what you need to do. But anyway, so now the marquee one. So let's see here. Where's your marquees down here?
This one here.
All right, so you got a delay, delay after delay. And so in your previous design, you have had one that automatically scrolled, right? That didn't require a click.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was this one here. I mean, it's going
Oh,
slow.
it's moving really slow.
You know what? I think this is a different component.
Uh-huh.
This one is the marquee, and the other one is a scroll. So I'm using this one,
Mm, yeah. Okay.
and this one is.
That one,
It also has after delay.
yeah, that one has a click though. This one has a click.
Okay.
That's the problem.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just got to be careful making a bunch of these, you know. Uh,
Hmm.
just naming them helps, and just keeping track of what you name, which one you use. That's really all it is. But 9 times out of 10, it's not Figma that's broken. It's us. It's just we just got to remember what we did and didn't do,
Yeah.
and just kind of backtrack. I'd say 9 times out of 10, there is that 10% where it's like a Figma fuck up, but it's still kind of like we just don't know what we're
We
doing.
did something. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just did something. But nonetheless, okay. So there you go. Um,
And then again, I got the anchor links for each
mhm,
one. Um,
gotcha, gotcha. So I did get some changes back from Mike.
okay.
So they were copy changes. So they went through the design word for word, line for line, everything, and then they had a few changes and he sent over a PDF of where they wanted the changes, where they want the words to change. So
Hmm.
they provided that. I did one version with their updates, and then I got mine. And then what I'm going to do is because they were a little bit verbose on some sections, so some stuff I'm going to clean up for them. Like, hey, let's make this a little bit more concise. I think we're getting too wordy here, but like
Yeah.
for the most part, their changes were pretty good. So I don't really
And
have
they
any.
were choosing the more wordy
Yeah, them.
situations.
So I have a meeting with him on Wednesday. We're gonna basically finalize the design with the copy changes and everything like that.
Hmm.
I did update his chat bot, so because he sent over some FAQs.
Yeah.
So I uploaded those FAQs into the chat bot. We'll do a couple tests just to make sure that it answers correctly. And then we also want to have a check to make sure that the answer is correct before giving it back to
Hmm.
the user. So that's the next thing I'm adding in there is just a check to make sure that that doesn't happen. We want to make sure that the chatbot can answer an FAQ, and then the check will allow us, okay, if you can't answer it, then take note of the question and then pass it on to Mike, and then
Okay.
have Mike respond back to it.
So it'll still be automated.
It'll still be automated, yeah.
Cool.
And
Cool.
so Mike can answer that question, or we can find a creative way to take that question, get it to Mike, and then Mike can answer that question, and then we can take and then update the FAQ document with that question and the answer that Mike
His
gave.
response. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
that's the next thing that I'm going to build out, and then we'll walk through that on Wednesday. And the goal of Wednesday is to leave with an approval of the design, so that way I can then go start building it in Squarespace.
Okay. I also tried building this in Wix.
How
So
was that?
it was tough, bro.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
Wix,
it's not as easy. It's not as easy.
no, and like it is if you're starting from scratch,
Yeah.
but building your website on there, um, yeah, I showed you the mobile mockup, right?
Not completely. No. Yeah. Let's walk through that.
All right, yeah, and then I'll show you like what I did
Mhm.
in Wix. Um, So since I tried to look up tutorials on how to utilize a hamburger menu.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure it out. Like I got it to the point where it comes up and I
Okay.
got the menu, but the links don't work.
Okay.
So
I would also tell you too, like click on that hamburger menu again. Okay. So there's some animations issues, and then from a UI perspective, it's not enough contrast to separate out the menu from the background of what's going on.
mhm,
So I got an example right here. So and now it's on web, but the mobile will just take over the entire screen. So I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So you see right here, when you click on the menu, they got like almost a 60-40 split,
yeah,
almost a 50-50
yeah,
split, right? And then you see how the actual navigational items is on a solid black background, and
yeah,
then on the other side you got that overlay or a scrim that looks like it's at 50%.
yeah.
Okay, so that is an example, and then you see the animation of where it slides from. It slides from the
Mhm,
left, it can slide from the right, it can, it can do whatever. But from a mobile perspective, right? So it would look something like it would take up the entire screen,
okay,
right?
yeah,
Now there are some people who used to do like half, half and half
yeah,
for mobile, but it's probably better to do the entire screen. So let's see here. So I close this, and this is almost similar to what you got, but you see how it went completely black.
yeah,
So yours, if you're gonna do something like this, then you need to go, that whole screen needs to be black so you could delineate between I just click the menu and then home page.
okay.
Yours is almost like it's probably like a really low scrim, like a 10%, 20% type
Yeah,
thing.
I dropped it. You could change the opacity.
Yeah, you can. Mhm.
I just dropped it to like 10%.
Okay, yeah, I would. Yeah, if you're gonna do this, then go 100%, cover the
Okay.
entire screen, and then after you click on the icon, you see how it changes to a close icon.
Mhm.
So you could do that exact same thing as well in Figma.
Okay.
Play around, go to some sites on your phone, and
Yeah.
play around with the navigation, and you can see things. Obviously, go to something like Patterns or whatever, wherever you can go to collect inspiration. I was also say too, you can change the size of your browser to a mobile size, and you'll see how a website interacts that way. So you can do that. Let's go to Nike.com.
With the inspect?
Inspect mode, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
you
was messing around because that's how I found out. Well, I guess we'll get to it in a bit, but um, the carousel and the lifetime website.
mhm.
I try to replicate it, but mine just wasn't as clean.
Right, right. And I mean, like, even right here, you can see it. So, all right, you can see it as like a mobile size.
Yeah.
All right, if we click this, you see how they do almost like a 50-50 split, 60-40
Yeah.
split.
Yeah.
So again, it's just a pattern. You decide which one you want to do. But
Mhm.
slides in from the right, and then you see solid color, right, for the actual background or the drawer.
With the
And then you got a light
opacity.
scrim over here.
Yeah.
So they went lighter. So they're, I would say it's probably barely a 20%,
Yeah.
right? 20%, but you got this solid thing and overtaking the majority of the screen. So my eyes focus on the drawer or the menu.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you got options, man. It can come from the right, it can come from the little, it can come from the middle, and it can do whatever you want. But just executing it, making sure that the background is solid. And if you are gonna do some splitting of the screen, then that's where you do the overlay of a 20-30% type of thing. But your menu items need to be on a solid background.
Okay.
So this redefine excellence thing, you see how you got this like jutted all the way up here, and I get what you were trying to do. You're trying to maintain like the integrity of the design from the mobile to the desktop over here,
Yeah.
but it doesn't match the uh let's do this.
Like the left alignment.
No, it's actually the top alignment that's off. So you see how you got right here,
Yeah,
right? Right. But then you go over here and
and then shorten.
it's yeah. Like you're not giving it any room to breathe, dude. So like bring
Mhm.
this bad boy down, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, bring all that down, you know. But yeah, outside of that, man, yeah, I think this is good. Just a little cleanup, and I think you're good to go. And then at that point, it's just trying to, duplicate it in Wix, or if you're maybe
Mhm.
just toying around playing with Squarespace or something. I don't know, but the next
Wix.
thing is just building it out.
All right, so this one is Wix,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing about Wix is the max width is 980.
Interesting.
So you can have a 1440, but anything that's outside of the 980,
Yeah.
they say like don't put buttons in there, any
Mm,
interaction, nothing, because you're only using what's inside here. Because I
interesting.
started with like, my hero
Mm-hmm.
and all the images, but
Mm-hmm.
then uh yeah, I was confined with this.
To that box right there. That's
Yeah.
weird.
And like you can see it's grayed out here. And I looked
Yeah.
online and you're limited to that. And
So
then what got
that's all
difficult,
plans. That's all payment plans, like free all the way up to
this
like
is
everybody
free.
is.
This one
No,
is
I'm
free.
saying that restriction of 980 pixels, is that for free people or is that for
Um,
everybody? Because that wouldn't sound right if it's for everybody.
I'm assuming it's just for free.
Okay.
Uh
I'll double check. I know somebody who has Wix, but
yeah.
it just sounds weird that they would restrict you to 980 because I mean
Mhm.
people's stuff is bigger than that. Okay.
And then creating that carousel with like their tabbed
Mm-hmm.
plugins
Yeah.
was a little difficult to navigate. I tried to do it, but it I don't know. I guess I
Yes.
couldn't make it look like what I did.
Right. And
Um,
that's the thing I warned about. Like that's a possibility.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have Wix Studio. Have you heard of that
Yes.
one?
I have, yeah.
So Wix Studio has a plugin where
Mm-hmm.
you can import your entire
Figma
Figma
file.
page. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I tried
Okay.
to do that
Mm-hmm.
and it was identical
Oh, really?
to my Figma file.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know what happened to it. It just uh it might be this one. But but then when it came to the plugins, like the
Mm-hmm.
carousel, then it got tough. It wasn't coming out clean.
Mm.
Oh, I don't think I saved it when I worked on it.
Okay. But it
But it was
sounds like
basically
Wix
you could
Studio is
make the
probably the better one.
1440 page in the free version. And it's just like Wix. So the same format.
Yeah.
It, I guess it's just easier to transfer your stuff from Figma to Wix Studio. Um, but the plugins, it got difficult. It had to change. It wouldn't look the same. So visually,
Yeah.
it looked just like what I had, um, but it wouldn't function the same. I'd have to use their plugins, and that's where it got a little
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, Wix technically has three different tiers. So they have Wix, they have Wix Studio, and then they
Hmm.
have a third thing called Editor X.
Hmm.
Editor X is supposed to be their competitor to Webflow.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be that quality.
Yeah.
Um, so they have a beginner, which is Wix, an intermediate Wix Studio, and then the advanced user is Editor X.
Hmm.
So it appears here that each one obviously have different capabilities.
Yeah.
It seems like the Wix beginner one, just regular Wix.com, doesn't work
Hmm.
for you.
No,
Gotcha.
no. Wix Studio was definitely a better option,
Okay.
and like a lot more convenient
Hmm.
because when it transfer your Figma file, it has all of your text styles, your colors that you used, your background colors, and then
And they
what
let
else?
you build a site, same thing as their freemium model with Wix. Like they let you build as many sites as you want under Wix Studio.
Yeah,
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Well, Wix Studio is a little easier to use. It's just when it came to like modifying the plugins and whatnot, that's where
Gotcha.
you start hitting some
Yeah, and
buttons.
that's where you need to know, like, I would assume that's like you need to know some coding, like you need to know what you're doing with code.
Yeah,
Okay, I figured. Yeah.
and then I started looking into coding, and then I got a little
Yeah, it could
overwhelmed.
get overwhelming, bro.
Yeah, it was. I think I had a site that looked
Mhm.
like my Figma file, but then when I started getting into coding, it started affecting the website, and I
Yeah,
didn't know what was going on, so I just trashed it.
got you. Okay, okay. Well,
But
yeah, man. So, yeah, this is good. So, we're coming up on time. What I would say is just continue trying to build this out, as much as possible within Wix Studio.
mhm,
Um, and then we'll continue working on that. So that's really your main focus at this point, is just like getting your design built out. So let's just focus on that. And then what we'll do is we can kind of stress test what you got next time, so we can see where you are, if you need any help as far as trying to build out what you have. And then what we can do is we can go into uh playing around in voice flow, so that way you know how to at least
yeah,
create your first agent. So we'll take a look at what you have built out for the first half of next week, and then the second half we'll play around in voice flow.
okay, cool, cool, cool.
And then really, I think I got to double check. I think you got one, or it's either one or two more sessions left.
Mhm,
So the goal is, obviously we want to have, well, you have mockups already. So you got mockups, wireframes, your affinity mapping, whatever you got. So, and then you have a prototype of your website. Then you have a build of your website within Wix Studio. And
mhm,
then we will have a chatbot built for you in VoiceFlow.
yeah,
And then all of that together, you have a case study. So once you've created this case study, you have one case study. Now it's time for you to like structure it like a case study with the write up and everything like that, because then
yeah,
you would use that as your actual portfolio entry.
okay,
So that's that. And then what you do is you work backwards. So we're going to build your case studies first and then design your portfolio.
okay,
Because you may be inspired after doing these projects. You might have a feel of like what your style is, and then you can then take that and create your branding. We use that
mhm,
branding for your interview
right,
deck, right?
right,
So we're working along the steps. So we get your case studies done first, because that's where your experience is going to come from. It's actually doing the case studies.
yeah,
Once you have all your case studies done, okay, well, now it's about, all right, how do you craft telling your story? And you're going to use that with your branding of everything that comes down to your portfolio, resume, and interview deck. And then we build those things out, and then you're ready to go. So
okay,
we're going to start on building your case studies first. So that's what we're doing with this one. So
okay, cool, cool.
once we get your Access Performance case study built out, you got one case study down. Now you got 4 more to go.
Yeah, all right,
Coolio, man. All
sounds
right.
good.